Hey, what's up everybody and welcome back to News Dose, and it appears Xbox is only just now getting started. Of course, there's all those rampant questions out there on what's going to happen with Activision Blizzard as it goes through regulations, but what if I told you that Microsoft plans on buying even more studios besides just them? Well, according to Xbox Phil Spencer in an interview, them slowing down doesn't really seem like much of an option. They also just revealed the second half of September's Xbox Game Pass lineup, which includes 10 new games, so that's always fun as well. And really, they've just been incredibly busy over the last 7 days or so, and we'll go over all of that today. Also, PlayStation dropped some more news for PlayStation VR 2, and it looks like they're prepping to release even more PC games sometime here soon. As usual though, before we do anything, I just want to go and remind you about those buttons below. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell. It helps out the channel a ton, so I truly do appreciate it. Let's go and jump into things though, starting off with another major leak, this time being for Diablo 4. Yeah, it's been a crazy week so far, as around 40 minutes of alpha gameplay did leak out online, as private videos from seemingly Discord were shared over on places like Reddit. Now, I'm not going to include that leaked footage on my channel for copyright-related reasons, but if you really want to see new Diablo 4 gameplay, well, it's definitely out there. Now, from the sounds of it, what happened here is that somebody was doing a friends and family test, and we're streaming it on Discord maybe, and I guess somebody just decided to record it and post it online. It's actually a pretty messed up situation, because the one streaming it probably got in trouble because of all this. What I will say though, and it's kind of strange that I'm even saying this, but I don't know if this leak could have come at a better time for Activision Blizzard. Now, the reason I say that is because if this was most weeks, a leak like this would likely be featured news and just plastered absolutely everywhere. Diablo, after all, is a huge franchise. However, because this leak happened right at the same time that GTA 6 leaked out, which is an even more massive franchise, it's actually a little bit more under the radar right now, so kind of timely in that sense to, I guess, a degree. Still though, a big week for leaks. Now, we did also get a big PlayStation VR 2 update that's yielded some very mixed reactions within the community, and that's in regards to backwards compatibility. It has now officially been confirmed that PSVR 2 will not play PSVR 1 games. Now, there's a silver lining here, which I'll get into here in just a second, but the reason they say they couldn't include this feature is because of the difference in technology used. They wanted to go with a truly next-generation device, which means making some pretty big changes. PSVR 1, after all, did release back in 2016, and VR technology has advanced quite dramatically since then, but the main culprit here sounds like it could be in how PSVR 2 goes about its tracking technology. I mean, when you kind of think about it, that original PSVR headset didn't even have its own controllers. They actually opted out in using their old 2010 PlayStation Move controllers, and it also used an external camera facing you to track those Move controllers and just the headset itself. With PlayStation VR 2, however, it now uses its very own controllers with things like haptic feedback. That's already a big improvement. And much like other modern VR headsets, the cameras are on the headset itself. So according to them, because of things like that, developing PlayStation VR 2 games takes a different approach in making them work, hence why there's no backwards compatibility. As I said though, there does seem to be a bit of a silver lining here, as it already sounds like a lot of PlayStation VR 1 developers are already working on porting their games over. Now, I don't know exactly how much work that'll involve, hopefully not too much, but this is according to PSVR on Parole, which has been pretty reputable when it comes to PSVR leaks and rumors and things like that. If this is true though, hopefully some of the better and more popular releases will come over, including things like Blood and Truth, Moss, and then of course my easy favorite here being Astrobot Rescue Mission. It'd be a missed opportunity if people started to buy into PSVR 2 and couldn't buy into some of these already really great games. Let me know what you all think about all this though. Do you think this is necessary to make PSVR 2 even better and more future-proof? Or do you think this decision is a mistake on Sony's part? Let me know in the comments below. Let's go and talk about Xbox though, as a few things are happening here. Like I said, they've had a pretty busy week with Activision Blizzard. There was TGS, Game Pass, which we'll actually talk about here in just a moment. But Phil Spencer said something that was very interesting in an interview with CNBC. he was asked, despite what's happening with Activision Blizzard, will they still remain active and buy more studios in the future? And Phil Spencer just kind of pushed his chips in the middle here, because check his response out. He said, and I quote, "This is such a competitive market. I don't think we get to press pause on anything. Tencent is the largest gaming company on the planet today, and they continue to heavily invest in gaming content and game creators. Sony is a larger business than we are in gaming today, and they continue to invest. It's a highly competitive market. We strive to be a major player. We want to deliver great content for our players, and we're going to remain active." Now, this is a very public statement that actually does two different things. This almost comes off as him pointing to these regulators saying, hey, we're not the only ones that are active here, and we're not even the biggest gaming company, as Tencent and Sony are also gobbling up studios. And this is why we should be allowed to acquire more studios as well. We need to be able to keep up. Ironically, despite Sony acquiring studios as well, they are complaining about the Activision Blizzard acquisition, and they're trying to muddy the water in terms of these regulators. But this is what I was speaking to last week. There's a lot of evidence out there against Sony, and Microsoft, they know this. They're a smart company, and they're going to point out this type of stuff any chance that they can get, whether that be behind closed doors or publicly, as you're seeing here. More so, though, this does essentially confirm that Microsoft is not quite finished just yet. They do absolutely want to acquire more studios. Now, they probably won't make any moves until they're finished up with Activision Blizzard, though, as that takes up a ton of resources. And by acquiring more studios right now, that could possibly raise some red flags as they're trying to get through these regulations. Once all that's finished up, though, it does sound like they'll be on a prowl again, and I imagine they already do have some targets in mind here. Phil Spencer has kind of hinted at wanting more worldwide diversity in the past, specifically in the Asian region. So we could see them target maybe some Korean, Japanese, or even Chinese studios. Platinum Games, obviously, that's a big Japanese studio that a lot of fans tend to talk about as a potential target. They've worked on games like Bayonetta, they've worked on Scalebound in the past until that one got canceled. They have Astral Chain, and yes, they are a very talented studio. Mistwalker is another one, and that would be the one that I would most like to see, because this is just far too talented of a team to just work on mobile games, as we've seen as of recent. I mean, as is, Mistwalker isn't even making console games anymore. And because Xbox has worked with them in the past on games like Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon, this could actually be a win-win pairing for everybody involved, and just kind of get them working on consoles once again, and now even PC. Now, there's also some other possible targets outside of Asia, such as Asobo as an example. I believe they're located in France, and they make games like Flight Simulator and Plague Tale. They do have a pretty good partnership with Xbox, so that could be a potential target. There's also GSC World, which is behind Stalker 2. You have CD Projekt Red over in Poland, though I don't necessarily think that will actually happen. But that's what I'm kind of trying to say here. There's a lot of talent out there that could possibly fit into what Phil Spencer previously said. What we do know, though, is that despite Microsoft going through the biggest acquisition in gaming history, well, apparently that's not going to stop them from searching for even more studio buyouts. Speaking of Xbox, if you are an Xbox Game Pass subscriber, yeah, you're probably pretty happy today as they announced even more September games. I mean, if you weren't already busy enough with games like Ni no Kuni and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which, I mean, just came to the service a few days ago, well, here's 10 more games for you. As you can see here, this list includes Beacon Pines, Grounded the full release, Let's Build a Zoo, Moonscars, Paw Patrol Grand Prix, Deathloop, Slime Ranchers 2, Hardspace, Shipbreaker, Spider-Heck, and then last but not least, you have Valheim, which is heading over to PC Game Pass. Now, if you follow the channel, you probably knew about most of these inclusions, as we have previously talked about them before, but this is actually a great lineup of games for an already stellar month. I mean, Deathloop alone is a huge addition. It of course, was a one-year PlayStation 5 timed exclusive, but as of today, it is now on Xbox, and I think this game will have even more success this time around, as not only is this a great game, but I think Xbox Game Pass is going to give Deathloop the recognition that it truly deserves. Really, for that matter, and I don't think I've talked about this enough, but I feel like Arcane, being an Xbox first-party studio now, will finally get the recognition that they deserve. I mean, they've always made great games like Prey and Dishonored, but now their games like Redfall and here with Deathloop will get that spotlight. I think the Xbox community will love their games. Also, the full release of Grounded definitely should not be overlooked. This game has had a lot of success in early access and has built a really strong core in terms of its gameplay. But with its full release on September 22nd, that will now include its single-player campaign. So even if you have played this game before, and if you decided that you don't really care for that aimless style of gameplay, maybe kind of jump back in here with its single-player component. As we know, Obsidian does excel when it comes to single-player RPGs, so this could be a big surprise hit, really just all over again. Moonscars, though, is another one that we've talked about before, but if you like Metroidvanias, I think this one definitely looks promising. It is described as a Souls-like, and it has a very dark world, and I think if any of those things interest you, you might want to keep an eye on this one when it releases on September 27th. This could be that next really good Metroidvania style of game. Now, as for some of these other games that we haven't really talked about previously, though, I mean, there's even more standouts here. Slime Ranchers 2. I know a lot of people like that first game, and here you have the sequels game preview, and that's heading over to Game Pass day 1 on September 22nd, where you can explore a brand new world with completely new slimes to wrangle. You also have Beacon Pines, which I think has an attractive art style, and it's being described as this cute but creepy adventure. It does seem like there's a much darker side to this game than what it first appears, so if you want something to maybe surprise you, and if you like story-driven games, that is coming day 1 on September 22nd. I mean, you even have games like Spider Hack. Here's another day 1 release, and it's like this platforming spider type of game. It's kind of strange, but it does look like it could possibly be fun, and I do actually think this is a great lineup of games, and that continues on with, of course, Valheim. Unfortunately, the console release is planned for 2023 in early spring, but if you do play on PC, this is another really popular game. So really, I can't applaud Xbox enough for what they pulled off in September and just the wide range of games that's come this month. Let me know, though, which one are you all most excited to play yourself, whether that be one of the games that released earlier this month or one of the games that they are showing today. Of course, there's Deathloop. I know a lot of you all have been looking forward to that one. Now, we do have one last topic to go over here, as we might have just got another confirmation as to one of PlayStation's next PC games being Sackboy: A Big Adventure. There has been a lot of speculation for a PC release, as its codename Marmalade appeared on Steam database last year, and there was also that NVIDIA GeForce leak, which listed as well. So there was already some pretty credible evidence of its existence, but if there was any question before, well, it's now been spotted that the Steam database page which mentioned Marmalade has now been updated, which not only includes language support, which tends to be one of the last additions before its release, but it also includes a picture of Sackboy, confirming what many already expected. That page is indeed for Sackboy: A Big Adventure. So there you have it. I mean, Sony has yet to make it official themselves, but I'd say this very much looks like it is indeed happening, which really is not a surprise by this point. I mean, if you're still in that group that thinks Sony is only going to occasionally dip into PC, well, it seems like there's a little bit more to their plans than just that. There's even been spottings of them linking PSN to PC games, there's suggestions of a PlayStation PC launcher, and now here you have what looks to be yet another PC release that was actually a launch PlayStation 5 game. And it's not the only PlayStation 5 game that's been rumored. Returnal also has some very similar evidence. I've heard things about Demon's Souls. The Last of Us Part 1 is already confirmed for PC. And yeah, I think we are going to start seeing more and more of these PlayStation 5 games head over to PC. Now, I don't think they're going to do what Xbox does and release them day 1. But like what they're doing with The Last of Us Part 1, I think we could start to see more of these staggered releases. Maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, but I would expect a large portion of their games to head to PC sometime down the line. Sackboy, though, this one does make a lot of sense. This is a pretty solid 3D platformer that I think could use some more exposure, and with its development handled by Sumo Digital being a third-party studio, it's really a win-win situation for them, Sony, and of course, consumers as well. All in all, though, this update did include language support, so a more official announcement might come sometime here soon. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, and with Xbox alluding to them working on their very own published Japanese games, I wanted to ask you all, if Xbox were to bring one of their Japanese IP back, which one would you like it to be? And as you can see here, the most of you all, which I'm very, very happy to see this, did vote for Lost Odyssey. 43% of you all voted for that. 34% of you all voted for Scalebound. 13% of you all voted for Blue Dragon, and then 4% for Phantom Dust. Now, Scalebound is definitely an interesting one here. We'll get into that here in just a moment, but Lost Odyssey, thank you all for voting for this game. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think this game secretly is one of the best Final Fantasy games to exist. This released right around the same time as Final Fantasy 13. I thought it was better than Final Fantasy 13. It is coming from the father of Final Fantasy, being Hironobu Sakaguchi. And if you like those classic Final Fantasy games, I mean, this game is amazing. It really, really is. The problem for this game was that I don't really think that it got the attention that it deserved for really a few different reasons. For one, it is an Xbox exclusive and they weren't really known for Japanese games, but also when it comes to the media in general at this point in time, you have to kind of remember the era that this game released in, and there were expectations for games to kind of move in a different direction, kind of evolve as you will. But Lost Odyssey, I mean, this is a game that very much played like Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, so it was kind of knocked to a degree for that reason. But I mean, all these years later, I mean, Lost Odyssey, it did stand the test of time. It turned out to be a great JRPG, and it has quite a cult following for that reason. Fans did love this game. I'm very much a part of that group. I do love Lost Odyssey, and I would love to see a sequel. I think the problem here, though, is on whether or not Mistwalker would like to make a sequel. I mean, they've really been kind of sticking with mobile games. They did work on Fantasian over on Apple Arcade. Interestingly enough, that did also stick with that classic Final Fantasy formula to a degree, but I would love to see Xbox partner up with them, bring them back to consoles, and get Lost Odyssey 2. Now, as for Scalebound, it's always really interesting to see how many fans want to see this game return. As we all know, this was a Platinum Games game, and it did get canceled. I personally thought it looked pretty good for its time. Other people will disagree with that. I think the performance definitely was not quite there based on some of the showings, but I felt like this game had a lot of potential, and it just never happened. Unfortunately, though, there's still no signs that it will be making a comeback. Phil Spencer did say the other day that they have really no update for this game. He's not saying no, but at the same time, who knows about this game? Maybe we'll see a revival sometime in the future, because at the very least, there's a lot of fans out there that do want to see it happen. But I am really happy to see Xbox commit to their own exclusive Japanese games. I really want to see what comes of all of that. Looking through the comments, though, Monday Morsels did say, so Jaywood has the most cultured fan base, huh? I am pleasantly surprised by the results, even though Blue Dragon should be higher and Scalebound lower. And yeah, I would say you all did really good in the results here. I was pleased myself, and I would have liked to have seen Blue Dragon get some more votes here as well. That was kind of like Mistwalker's Dragon Quest, and that'd be cool to see to return as well. But hey, it is what it is. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.